We are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicenda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do this in a lot of different ways, but the most fun one is sitting down and just playing those games. Today, we're playing a system that I absolutely adore that we featured here once on stream, but in a totally new setting with some new twist to it. I'm very excited to sit down and play Return to Dark Tower, not the board game, because everybody who's seen the tweets so far have been like, oh, I backed that Kickstarter. No, you didn't. You backed another one. You're about to back this one. Chris, why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and tell us about Return to Dark Tower, the RPG.
Sure. Thanks, Tony. My name is Chris O'Neill, and I am a creative with Ninth Level Games. We make role-playing games, and our latest role-playing game is Mazes Fantasy Role-Playing, and our new game is Return to Dark Tower Fantasy Role-Playing. That goes to Kickstarter next Tuesday. So if you're watching this on the YouTubes in the future, the Kickstarter will probably be live. But the concept is Return to Dark Tower is the Restoration Games board game that is a sequel to the game Dark Tower that was built by Milton Bradley back in 1981. And kind of the funny story behind the scenes is that Milton Bradley went to like the Consumer Electronics Show and had saw that Mattel was making a Dungeons and Dragons game, and they were like, well, everybody's making Dungeons and Dragons, we'd make our own Dungeons and Dragons. And so they did, and it's called Dark Tower, and it has almost nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. There is a dragon in it. There might have been dungeons in the original, but it did have a big giant black tower that was say giant, it was like 10 inches tall. But it was computer controlled, and you played a game where you traveled across 4 kingdoms trying to collect keys to siege the Black Tower and defeat the evil inside, which was mostly brigands. Brigands living in the tower. But Restoration Games that takes great old ideas and takes great games and remakes them or repurposes them and does a lot of different things. Rob Davio is known as the master of legacy. Rob and Justin and Brian Neff and Noah, the team, they brought this game into the future with the idea that says, hey, we're going to have this central tower. It's going to interact with an app. It's going to do all these things, and we're going to try to take the things that were great about the game in the past, but really make a good game, because the original game honestly it's not very good. I am on record as loving it with my whole heart, because as an 8-year-old standing in Kitty City, looking up at the gigantic box on the shelf and being like, all I want in the world is this game. This game will make everything perfect. And then putting it on my table and not really understanding how to play it. And then playing it again much later and being like, oh, this is great. But it was a different time. But the new game is amazing. Here's all the minis.
Ah.
Here's the gigantic box that it comes in. This game is actually phenomenal, and for 1 to 4 players, there's a solo mode, there's a competitive mode. The game itself, the core of it, is a cooperative mode, and we got to play it in an early in its early development, and when we did, we just saw so many correlations to our fantasy role-playing game Mazes, and we just said, well, let's talk to Restoration and see if they're interested. And when we pitched it to them, they were like immediately like, we want to play this game. Go out and make this game. So we've done some things, and we're gonna play some beta tests, some stuff here today with John and Irene and yourself, Tony. And I hope everyone enjoys it. And fingers crossed, it's going to be a big Kickstarter for us. So
awesome. I'm super excited about it. I was super excited about it when we chatted at PAX, and you were showing off some of just the earlier, like kind of the early kind of teasers of the art and some of the other stuff like that for it. And I was very excited. There are very few times where I'm like, oh, an IP, I'm super excited. And I was like totally tickled about this one. I got to play not as much Dark Tower as I did Dork Tower by Steve Jackson Games, a delightful parody of it. Speaking of which, let's talk to my fellow GURPS and Steve Jackson Games lover, Irene, first time on channel. Irene, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Hi, I'm Irene. This is my first live stream in the RPG space, so that's super cool.
Yay!
I am mostly known on TikTok as @SpaceJob. I started the hashtag Beggar Talk, which is a cool place where people talk about independent and small press role-playing games. I'm also on Twitter as SpaceJobRPG.
Awesome. And then fresh off an incredibly successful Kickstarter themselves, we've got John Hambo McGuire. John, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Ahoy, I'm John Hambo McGuire. I'm the co-host of the Vintage RPG podcast, and I'm the co-creator of 321 Action RPG. You can find me across social media at John McGuire RPG on the TikTok, on the Twitters, and on the Instagram. And if you want to check out 321 Action, 321actiongames.com. Free solo play adventure and free rulebook waiting for you.
Awesome. John, can you turn your gain up just a touch?
Sure can.
Awesome. I'm super excited to play. We're going to dive in just 1 second. Anytime we play a game here on stream, we use a couple different safety tools. If the game provides a set for that, we do, but we just like it because it keeps our game on track and makes sure everyone's comfortable, especially since we're all coming to the table, not normally playing with each other. But that said, we use lines, veils, the X card, and something called the open door policy. Lines are things that may happen in the world of our game, but don't happen in the course of our play of it. They are off limits. We have a strong line against sexual violence here on the channel. Veils are things that may happen over the course of play. But we might fade to black, fade forward. We don't dwell on them, or we only address them within a certain context. And then the X card is the ability for anybody at any point in time to pause the game. It could just be because of confusion. It could be because of a piece of content comes up we want to remove from the game. All they have to do is identify what it is. They don't have to explain why they don't like it or why it needs to be removed. We'll take it out, we'll replace it with something else, and we'll move forward in a different direction. Does anybody have any other lines or veils that they want to add?
No, I'm good.
I'm cool.
Cool. If other things come up, again, we can always use the X card to add them. But the other thing I wanted to just mention is our open door policy. We're all real human beings with real human needs. We might need to take a break at some point. We might need to get up, move around, talk to somebody off stream, eat, drink, do all the normal things that normal humans do until our robot overlords come and release us from these flesh bodies. Those are the things that we will do. So just be ready if any of those things come up. Also take care of yourself while you're watching the stream. As well. So with that said, if anything else comes up, again, just remember you use the X card or our Discord chat to communicate with the rest of the players. And I'm going to hand things over to Chris to take us back to the Dark Tower.
Yeah, awesome. So in the board game, the concept is you choose a villain, and then the villain has these plans, and that each of the villains have their own set of minions. And I just got a special delivery. So I'll come back to this in a second. This secret, what's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the
box? And in the Return to Dark Tower role-playing game, the actual book will include the villains that exist in the board game. And so today we're going to play with one that's called the Bane of Omens. And the Bane of Omens is like a shadowy mystical like force that's hunting you, and you can't escape the piece. And in our world that we're going to create, that is kind of like my baseline here is we are going to play a group that are currently in Oegans End, which is a small village in the Northern Kingdom. And the adversary, so in this game what happens is the adversary gets created, and it's either you create one or there's rules for creating it together, which is reminiscent of a Robin Laws game called The Guy in Reach, which if you've ever gotten a chance to play, it's one of my favorites. Early Gumshoe stuff. But it has this like really cool mechanic for building a villain together. And how you basically define the villain is by why haven't you killed him? Right? Like everyone brings something to the table. Like, well, I haven't killed them because he has the fastest spaceship in the galaxy. And he always gets away from me, right? And so it's like, okay, well, that we can build off that. So there's roles, there will be roles in the Dark Tower game for doing that, but we'll also have all of the existing bad guys, right? So instead of these pieces, what we call our seals, which is something that is based on how the actual board game works. The board game, there are seals in the tower and the seals get broken. So this is a game that's designed to be played over a series, a campaign, 3 to 5 sessions. Each one of those sessions is really about dealing with one of these seals. And these seals are pieces that are expressed on the character sheet for the adversary, right? So the bad guy also has a character sheet.
Yeah, I popped it up once before. I'll pop it up again so everybody can see it as well.
Yeah, that's very cool. So when you're looking at the bad guy's character sheet, like the centerpiece here, the Bane of Omens, these in the center are different. These are ideas of different seals, right? Like, so we're going to play that the idea is inflict the black mark has already occurred. It's been completely filled. And Irene is going to play a character named Iceorn today. And Iceorn has been inflicted with the black mark. So that's the piece. And then on the right-hand side, we have forces. And these are basically right out of the board game, right? The dragon is a melee beast. It has it's level 4 and it has like 15 hit points, right? So these are just Mazer stats. So all of the pieces are there. For those of you that are unfamiliar with mazes and that are unfamiliar with polymorph in general, if you look on the left-hand side of this character sheet, you'll see our resolver, right? And the core for the primary actions that you're going to take in a game, you're going to say, I'd like to do something. And then the MC or the GM is going to say, you're going to test books, boots, blades, or bones. And what you're going to do is on your die, you're going to try to roll these numbers, any of these specific numbers. And if you look, these icons are directly out of the board game and they match up perfectly with what we're doing in mazes. In mazes, we have a key bonus whenever you roll a 1. If it's something your character can do, it works. In Return to Dark Tower, there's an idea called a banner. So it's basically the same object. Whenever you roll a 1, it's basically that core thing that you do is how you resolve the issue. In mazes, we have a thing called a crown, which is whenever you roll the top of your die, you get to do something depending on the level of darkness. In Return to Dark Tower, whenever you roll the top of your die, you can instead choose to reinforce, right? Which is a different kind of aspect. And Tony, if you can share one of the player characters sheet, the Iceorn sheet would be the best.
I got the Iceorn sheet up now, yep.
Great. You can see that the Iceorn, in addition to in the center, it says the same things that you would have in a Mazes character sheet. But there's this other piece called forces. So forces is this idea that the hero has a whole bunch of soldiers or something else that works for them. So you're going to define what they are, and then you're going to give that group an edge. So in this case, Iceorn the Bull has a cavalry group. You have this large group of mounted soldiers, and they are fast. So anytime you are using your soldiers as a function, you can use the term fast as a way to gain advantage on action. And if we are playing at the level and the scope where it's large groups versus large groups, your forces are effectively your hit points, right? So we're going to play, and Dark Tower is going to be played at 2 different levels. At one level, it's played at the force level, and at one level, it's played at the individual level. And for each character, for each player, they're going to define on their character sheet a hero, which is the central point. So in this game, we're going to be playing with Iceorn the Bull. That is the hero. And then the other players are actually playing companions. So companions, each person is going to create a hero and a companion. And that allows different people to do different things at the same time. So Tony and John are going to be playing 2 companions with the expectation that their heroes are off somewhere else on the map doing something else right now. And in a regular session, we could switch back and forth. So we could do a thing, with Iceorn and Iceorn's group. And then we could change it over, and we could then go and, Tony's hero, whoever that might be down in the dungeon. And for those that know about mazes, the dungeons in this game are literally exactly just Mazes Adventures. They're 100%, just 100%. You could just drop a Mazes Adventure and you could do the dungeon, or vice versa. You can use the Mazes rules also to convert OSR content into mazes, which will also work for Dark Tower. That was a whole lot of exposition.
That's fine. I love it. I'm excited about it. I'm playing Darius Lackhand. John is playing the best character of them all, though.
Frog Boy. Frog Boy.
So Frog Boy is a reluctant hero, and Frog Boy's abilities are. Can you remind me what Frog Boy's abilities are?
Frog Boy's abilities: he's young, he's got a magic weapon, and he's charming.
Right, he's young, he's got a magic weapon, and he's charming.
Yep.
Your magic weapon, we're actually going to use a thing right out of the Dark Tower game. We're going to use this. It is called the Amulet of the Marid, and whenever you are near water, you basically all of the wildlife in water situations will fight for you. So that Frog Boy is reluctantly, a young fisher person who has unfortunately become a hero because they keeps using, frogs and fish and the occasional alligator, to fight against the evil that is the Bane of Omens.
Nice.
Boy is a D4, which means that everything you're going to do in the game, you're going to roll a D4, John. Iceorn as the hero, you are a fighter. The hero uses a D8, or the fighter uses a D8. Everything you do is going to involve the D8. You are strong. You have a force of riders. There are 2 more abilities that I don't have up in front of me.
Armored and intimidating.
Armored and intimidating, right? So armored makes a lot of sense, especially when we're fighting. Pulling armored into a case, but intimidating, I think, will be fun. Especially, we're going to try to do a combat scene. We're going to try to do a non-combat scene and show how they work. Darius is for Tony is intended to be Iceorn's right hand brother in arms, like the crazy fast rider and swords person. And your abilities are.
I have the abilities precise, agile, and fast.
So precise is you're accurate when you're fighting. You're agile and you are fast, like all of Iceorn's riders. One of the things that we're working on, and I think this is actually really neat, is we're trying to create a new way to interact with information in the game. And since Dark Tower is so centrally focused on this idea of a tower, we decided to, in addition to a GM screen that would basically have all the rules, is this thing called the player tower. And the player tower is literally going to be a box with cool stuff in it. And then it magnets itself together.
Yes.
It magnets itself together into a a dice tower, and then printed all around the outside, besides looking like the tower, will be all of the game stat information. So you can literally put this in the center of the table or put it on top of your Dark Tower board. You can use it to roll your dice, but more importantly, all your information is here.
Does that mean it will be the biggest of the Dark Towers so far?
It will actually. It'll be 16 inches.
We're not saying size matters, but I'm not saying having the most impressive tower isn't a fun thing.
The first time that we did it, we like put the pieces together. It was I had it over 24 inches, and Heather was like, "You need to calm it down." But like, so the idea is that this package on the Kickstarter is also going to include like 8 dice and a big set of tokens that'll match the things that are in the actual board game that you can use for your Hearts and Spirit. And some other pieces. There'll be this, and there'll be a GM screen that looks, intimidating and cool. And there'll be a character sheet pad in here. So,
very cool.
So it'll be literally everything you need to play can actually just store, and you could travel around in this. And the big hardcover. So, okay. How's everyone feeling?
Good.
For those at home, this is what the Bane of Omens looks like. And the Bane of Omens in the board game, the Bane of Omens gives corruptions and targets the hero with the black mark. So, in a full game, the first thing we would do is we would figure out it's the Bane of Omens, and as the adversary, I would be putting down all of these different seals. And these are the different things that I am going to attempt to do over a year, because you only have a year in game. And whenever you decide to do something, it's going to use up some time. And sometimes that is going to be random. Like, so you're going to roll a die and it's going to take more time than you thought it did. But that could be things like, hey, we want to go recruit some soldiers, right? So we're going to just like pick this up right in the middle, right? And we're going to say that I just released one of these seals, and the seal is called the Black Mark. And Icethorn the Bull has received the Black Mark. So you have this black iron cuff that's now like chained to your foot. And the Bane of Omens now knows exactly where you are at all times. You've heard that the Bane is looking to do a number of things, and one of the things that you have heard about is he's looking to massacre the Longwater clan, who are a peaceful tribe that live to the east of Oegans End. You've heard that he's trying to release the Djinn of Torment from the mountains of the Djinn. And you've heard that the upcoming tournament here in Oegans End, where warriors test their prowess, is actually a sham that the Bane of Omens is using to gain information and money. So, what other information do you guys want about your characters before we kind of like get into this? We'll start somewhere in Oegans End.
I think I'm pretty good.
I feel good.
Feeling good, Frog Boy. Feeling good.
Frog Boy feeling strong.
All right. Frog Boy's just trying to decide if Frog Boy wants to talk about Frog Boy in the third person or not. So we're gonna see how that goes.
Okay, so it is the third month of the year where you are trying to stop the Bane before the Bane of Omens can acquire all of the nefarious things that he needs in order to unlock Ascole's treasure within the Dark Tower itself and plunge the Four Kingdoms into darkness. You are in Oegans End, a small prairie village. This is where Frog Boy's from. You recently saved the village from an attack of brigands, and that brought you to the attention of Icethorn the Bull, Three of you are walking down the street. There is a buzz of activity because the tournament is coming soon. What would you all like to do?
Well, since Frog Boy is in Frog Boy's natural habitat and his hood with all his peeps, Frog Boy would like to be having brunch with the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, but not the cobbler. No. And I'll just be waiting to greet my new friends.
So Frog Boy is at the local coffee shop, waiting for these mighty warriors while he talks things up with the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker.
I love that no matter how many omens are being unleashed and how many horrible things are happening in the world, that the coffee shop is still open because we're okay.
You gotta have brunch.
Yeah, and as long as Waffle House is still open, we're all going to be fine.
Listen, in the words of the late great Warren Zevon, enjoy every sandwich.
Darius is 100% taking, following Isorn's lead. Has the black mark appeared recently?
So that was in last week's session, and it was a big thing. It was like, Isorn got swindled, and they thought they were safe, and then they woke up the next day with this cuff around their home arrest style.
Yeah.
This monitoring bracelet. It has like weird bluish runes on it, but it's otherwise made of black steel. Actually, you probably keep forgetting that you have it, but you can't forget the fact that no matter where you go, the Bane of Omens will know where you are.
I'm sure I had to have Darius explain that to me and also explain that these runes were not normal letters, because I'm pretty sure I can't actually read.
Yeah, that seems real. 100% in for that.
But yeah, I guess we've been told to meet Frog Boy for brunch, and are currently trying to find the cafe.
This is not Oegans End is just really one street. So
is it? Yeah. Okay.
But
literally,
the problem
it is the only place that one could have brunch or lunch or dinner.
We slept here and we're just used to the big city, so like we left to go look for the brunch place,
right?
Not realizing it was downstairs.
Listen, it's a pre-gentrification.
You went walking around, and then you got all the way back around to here, and then you're like, "Oh, there it is."
They swapped the sign out when we left. There, they slid in off and put brunch in its place. Frog Boy, is there anything that's particularly good here?
Everything's good here, especially when you're hungry.
Do you think you're going to be? Do you think this place is gonna be all right?
I mean, I hope so. I just saved the town, so I'm not paying for meals, and I give you the good old wink. And I would like to continue to not pay for meals, so we got to do something.
Yeah.
Well, I think unfortunately, the Bane may know that Isorn is here.
Well, can Isorn just go over there until after my crepes are finished? I
can go over there after I acquire some eggs.
You all eat a hearty meal as you discuss what your plans are.
Iceborne, were those eggs cooked, or did you just crack a dozen eggs into a giant pitcher?
Rocky style, just eat them raw.
So I need my big old omelet, but I've also got the tumbler full of eggs for the bodybuilding reasons.
There we go.
It's kind of a two-fisting situation.
Excellent.
Getting yoked. as we say.
The bull. Yeah, so if you decide that again, so the peaks of the Djinn are north of here. The tournament will be here later this week. And the Longwater clans are to the east of here. And that's, or you could, do something else.
Who's your favorite in the upcoming tournament, Frog Boy?
Frog Boy's not a gambling man. Frog Boy. We definitively know, though, that there is going to be a massacre, that the Djinn is about to get released and that the tournament is rigged, right?
So what you know is that there is a Djinn north of here that the Bane of Omens is trying to unleash.
Mm-hmm.
You know that there is a tournament. You have heard that it is rigged or somehow being used nefariously. And there are two, there's areas nearby where the Longwater clans live, and you have heard that the Bane of Omens has put out a hit on them. Like the Bane of Omens is sort of like, my conception is that he's like a master behind the scenes manipulator. Like,
right.
He might just show up. He's like a super assassin, but he's also like at the same time like the power behind the throne. It's just that he wants to be the power on the throne.
Right. So Frogboy wants to know if we know who's going to win the tournament, because then Frogboy will amend Frogboy's previous statement about not being a gambler.
Oh, you don't know who. I mean, but there is a. This is the big thing Oegans End is known for. The tournament at Oegans End happens once a year. A lot of different people will be in town this weekend. It's a perfect place to hide. If you're trying to do something, but also, if someone was manipulating it,
Well, I think whoever they are, my friend, my good friend Isorn, and I like, I'm not a small person, but I lift my hand up and put it on Isorn's shoulder while we're sitting down. Like I have to lift up my hand and like slap their armor. I think they could probably resolve this tournament without much issue.
Feels right.
Yeah, Isorn's gonna kind of chuckle and just be like, well, if the tournament wasn't rigged, I would surely win. But given that it's rigged, perhaps I should try to unrig it instead.
Exactly.
Unrig it. Okay. The candlestick maker says, so are you going to join the tournament, Isorn? Because that would change my bets.
I think I shall.
Interesting. So it's the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and the bookmaker, apparently, who hears you talking. He's from drinking a cup of coffee and says, the smart money is on Grun or Hild the Tall. But if you were to join the tournament, Isorn, I think that a huge number of people would back you. I mean, it is a contest of raw strength. and you are known far and wide for being a brutal war leader.
Yeah, I'm gonna sort of nod to the bookmaker and say, get some flyers made.
So there is a palpable there is a palpable quiet around town for the rest of the day, as people are like, when they see you, they get quiet as they're kind of whispering, like, "Oh, did you hear that Iceland is entering the tournament?" All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna basically spend some time as a resource, and so I then advance one of these clocks, right? So whenever time gets spent, I get to choose. So I could choose to advance a specific clock here, or I could spend that time to advance the gin clock or the long clock, because you're not doing those things, right? And that's kind of the gamification that's going on in this game on the other side. That's kind of different, and I think really interesting for people that are used to playing games like that we make, which are usually tend to be very, kind of contained. So there's some extra board gaming elements that, I think hopefully will attract some people, and they'll be interested. But I'm not going to tell you where I put that time. I'll tell you that I put it in to the Longwater clans, but I'm not going to tell you that. The people at home, that I'm telling you that. Right?
Yeah, we don't know, but y'all who are watching now know.
Y'all who are watching.
Yeah, next time just say earmuffs.
Earmuffs. All you had to say was earmuffs, man. It's not that hard.
That's some cool tech though.
That's
I do
cool.
like that.
Yeah. It's just really kind of taking the same concepts from mazes and expanding them onto a different scope, or at a different scale, I should say.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to make a lot of decisions. You don't have to just wave a bunch of hands. And if if the decision is we're going to go deal with the gin, the difference between a full clock and a half clock and a 0 clock are all different. And all they're really doing is changing what the danger level is. So I could start that thing out at danger 1, and if it fully completes, it's going to be at danger 3, right? So, very straightforward, very simple, very mechanically easy.
That's cool.
What are you doing for the week while the tournament prepares?
I feel like we should try to deal with one of these other threats. Or are you saying, wait, was the tournament one of the 3 things?
This is what kind of training montage do we want to hit?
Okay.
Yeah, or is there other kind of information, or the things you want to set up? Is there anything you want to do? You've chosen to spend the time on this. So what is it that you are doing?
I mean, you want to bench press me while I eat, lay on a bench and eat grapes to get your overhead strength going?
Yeah, I like definitely a significant amount of the training montage would be overhead pressing Frog Boy.
There you go.
Every different moment, everybody's the first few are very obvious Frog Boy, and then everybody's like, why isn't Frog Boy in this next one? And it always zooms out, and there's Frog Boy somehow involved with the process.
Using me as a shot put. Yeet.
Yeah, it's what's his name from Kids in the Hall? The fat guy in a towel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work with, I think, the rest of the writers to help set up the tournament space, but really as a clever way to keep an eye on whatever this rigged reality we think might be, kind of helping, drive spikes, have reasons to walk around and be generally helpful, but keeping an eye out on things.
All right, Darius, give me a books roll.
All right. So classic War style, I roll a D6 only.
Right. You are a Vanguard. You are a D6.
Yeah. You know what? I drive the spikes pretty well. I rolled a 5.
Roll 5. So you spend a lot of time. You don't really you don't really notice a whole lot of activity going around. You do see a lot of people coming into town, a lot more than you would have expected. This is the first time, unlike Frogboy, who's from here. This is your first time in this little village. On the side, excuse me, south of the Rime-walled, the Rime-wheeled forest. But there are a lot more people in this town than you would have expected.
Is the bookmaker also the local bookie, by any chance?
Yeah, that's what a bookmaker is.
I think that was the joke, right?
Yeah. Just double check, cross my eyes, and dash them.
He doesn't actually make books. He's not a binder. He is a bookmaker.
Fair enough. I want to go and chat with Carl and see if he would level with me about, what's going on here. Like, what are really the odds?
Why don't you give me a books roll as well?
So I have to roll a 2 or a 3, right?
So yes, but before you do that, you are Frogboy.
Yeah, Frogboy D4 characters are also my favorite characters to play.
Frogboy, you are also charming. So if you can gain advantage to this roll if you are telling me that you are trying to charm this out of the bookmaker.
In my own way, I am trying to charm this out of the bookmaker.
All right, so you're going to roll that with advantage, and you're trying to roll a 2 or a 3.
I rolled a 3.
What did you roll on the other die?
On the other die, I rolled a 3.
3, so it's great. So you actually have a critical success, because the only time you can do a critical in a polymorph game is when you're rolling with advantage, and you succeed on both.
Yeah, so I want to saunter in there.
Mm-hmm.
And say, Carl, it's me. They're telling behind me. I need you to level with me, Carl. Listen. I saved this town. I am a hop, skip, and a lily pad jump away from being your mayor. And I don't want to enact any changes. So, vis-a-vis, quid pro quo, I need to, Booby, I need you to let me know what's going on here. I need you to...
Bubba.
Tell me.
Well, I mean, Frogboy, I got to tell you, everything seemed pretty straightforward until Icethorn joined the fray. Almost everyone had all their money on Grun, who is a half troll. Grun's a monster of a man, and Hildy the Tall is the fastest woman any of us have ever seen with spear or sword, and she herself is almost 7 feet tall. The two of them just head and shoulders above the rest of the competition until Icethorn got in here, both literally and figuratively. But I'll tell you, an awful lot of money has been placed on a guy named Van List.
What's his deal?
Grigor Van List. I've never heard of him before, but he's on all of the major pieces, and there's not a lot of bets against, but they are all bets for, but they are all of considerable amount of money.
Interesting. Well, I'm gonna place a bet on my friend. Here's a bag of gold. All in.
On Icethorn?
Of course.
Okay.
Classic Frogboy just says friend, and then whoever wins is like, that's my friend.
That was my friend. That's the Carl's not going to fall for that twice.
All right, I will inform my traveling compatriots what I've heard about Van List.
Everyone give me a books roll.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't get a 2 or 3, but I did get a 1.
So that's you did get a 1, right? Which is your banner, and you are a dangerous Bravo. So you've heard this information as well. Okay. All 3 of you have actually you've all actually heard of this guy, Grigor Van List. He is he's a well-known duelist, but he's not like a tournament duelist. He's like he gets in picks a fight with a guy and then, kills the guy because, they had a falling out over money kind of thing. Like, he's the kind of guy that just the drop of a hat is like, oh, I'll fight you. Let's go. But his primary activity is in rare jewels. He's a trader all around the 4 kingdoms. And so he usually rolls into town, spends a lot of money, maybe kills a guy, sells some jewels, heads out. Not a professional fighter, but a really well-known murderer.
Cool.
I guess a better way of putting it.
Professional legal murderer.
I mean, legal.
It was a duel.
Sounds more like a rope-a-dope to me.
Carl says, I don't know what that means. Do you need the a cordwainer? Is that who makes ropes?
Is that who makes ropes?
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Don't add us, Twitter. We don't want to know what ye old rope makers were actually called.
Oh, I do. I'm literally unable to move on without knowing.
Without knowing for sure.
Yes, go ask Larry. He'll let you know.
Unfortunately, it's rope maker.
Rope maker. I was like, I don't know that there is a fun, like Hooper-esque name for a rope maker.
Nothing fun like haberdasher.
Also a roper.
Cord Swain was excellent. I'm not gonna lie.
Cord Swain just sounds really good. So.
Can't wait for Cord Swain the RPG coming soon from 9th level games.
What kind of rope would you like to make?
Your campaigns are called yarns.
Oh,
yes!
Win!
Yes!
Oh, Irene, you are very lucky that we are not currently playing Cobalt Ate My Baby. Because I have answers for players with... Also, I love it. It's great. All right. So you were at the tavern. You're all discussing Grigor Van List, professional jewelry, or jewel merchant / legal murderer.
When you say merchant, is he like a fence, or is he
he's like legitimately like a trader in jewels? Like, so like he like shows up and talks to the different smiths and has a bunch of jewels, and then it just always seems like whenever he spends any amount of time somewhere, someone eventually pisses him off and they get into a fight, and then tomorrow is the day of the tournament, and yet you have not seen Grigor Van List anywhere in Oegans End.
What is it like? The morning of the day, the late night, and we still haven't seen him.
It's like the night before.
I mean, there's only one like tavern in the whole town.
Yeah, they've taken Brunch off and slid Tavern onto the.
I picture all small fantasy villages as basically being the town from Northern Exposure.
Yes.
Yeah, we're like normal, like literally, like there's one place where everything can happen. It's just like, oh,
yeah.
In the morning, it's where you get breakfast, and at night it's a bar,
right?
And then later we'll just sleep outside. It seems good. So, and then the rich guy will come into town,
Yeah.
be an astronaut. To fully extend that joke all the way out as far as
Pull it like it's taffy, buddy. Just
Is there all the other combatants have showed up, but not him?
Yes, in fact, Grun is in the corner of the inn, putting back massive quantities of the bitter ale that the innkeeper makes. And Hilda the Tall was here earlier, but sleep early. And there are a number of other combatants, all of whom you start to hear rumblings that they say that Grigor Van List is going to be here tomorrow. Like, you can hear it, like, other people are talking about it. The way that people were talking about Iceland being there earlier in the week.
Well, Iceland, how are you feeling for tomorrow?
I'm feeling encouraged by the fact that Hilda was apparently so insecure that she has gone to bed at a reasonable hour the night before the competition. However, I do feel pretty affronted that people are now talking about this other fella, especially because from what I hear, he isn't even that big.
He's not supposed to be.
Yeah, so yeah. I frankly don't see what the big deal is, and I'm kind of annoyed.
So, all right, we're all in the tavern, right?
Yep.
I want to start going around and spreading lies about the competitors.
I love it.
Yeah.
Give me a books roll with advantage because you're charming.
I rolled 2 2s.
2 2s. What kind of lies are you inserting into the conversation?
So, I am going to...
Unfortunately, just so you know, everyone will know the source of these lies. They do believe you because you are so charming, but you are a local celebrity.
I am going to... Hold on real quick. Irene, is your character right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. So, I walk up and I was like, oh, wow, I hear they only duel their left hand. And in fact, their right hand is the weaker of the two. So if you want to catch them off guard, my money's on Grun. So just saying. And then I'm gonna walk over and I say, "Yo, I've heard the reason why Hill went up to sleep early was because they have a massive cold, like just snot coming out of their ears. They're going to be really struggling to keep focused tomorrow when they're doing their challenges. So, let's just say the pendulum is swinging in some of the other directions. And then I'm going to say, so I heard Van List is not as good as a duelist as they say, that most of those people have faked their deaths and that they are living further up the coast. So, he's fine. And I won't say anything bad about Grun because Grun scares me.
I like the fact that you basically have used the Tupac maneuver.
Yeah.
They're not actually dead. They're just living on an island somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you're sowing seeds. You're sowing seeds that Icehorn uses the other hand, which could give them an advantage. You have definitely people are definitely like, oh yeah. I think I saw Hilda sneezing earlier, and somebody else was like, oh yeah. She was drinking tea. You know, like I mean, you know, like that. You know, probably got a bug. Yeah, that seems real.
I just imagine, was it Carl the bookmaker in the corner with a chalkboard, like constantly adjusting the rates?
Yeah, just constantly, you know. But obviously, like I'm doing all this, and I look up and I see Grun, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Not for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna saunter over to Grund. Hey, how's it going?
What do you want, little man?
Oh, you know, I you know, I'm sure you're, you know, about to turn in for the night. You know, but I just wanted to see if you.
What?
Great question, right? I wanted to see if you wanted to a little pre-tournament competition.
You a fight?
Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't want to hurt you, but I was thinking something just to show off skill without risk to you for tomorrow. I wouldn't want to put you at a disadvantage.
All right, give me you're doing this. You can see that Grund is a little confused. And then he just reaches out to grab you. So, would you like to fight him, or would you like to avoid him?
I would like to avoid him in an embarrassing way. So like I would like to basically, like, as he reaches out, kind of like dart towards his arm and like back around him.
Because you are agile and fast, I don't have a problem with that. Give me a boots roll.
Okay, I know the only way to roll a critical success is to roll 2 dice.
Yes.
But what does happen when those 2 dice are your highest number?
So that is, in this game, a reinforce.
Okay.
So in a regular polymorph game, rolling your crown can do different things depending on, you know, whatever else is going on in the game. We decided to keep some of that complexity out of this game in favor of putting the complexity in another place.
Okay.
And what's interesting is it still allows the characters to be completely compatible with mazes without any changes, because it's changing a system that is not interacting.
Because that is what just happened. So I'm just yeah.
You just roll 2 6s,
yes.
Right? Which is great. So you what it means in this is that the forces come into play.
Okay.
So and because you succeeded very well, Grund stands up to grab you just as Icethorn's what's Icethorn's company called, Irene?
The writers?
Yeah.
The Iron Bulls.
The Iron Bulls. The Grun looks over just as like all the Iron Bulls just like stand up. You know, like the part like when you're about to fight like a little guy and then his big friend up behind him. It's just his 6 friends. They're all wearing like, you know, leather breastplates, and they have spears and big knives at their belts.
Each pauldron has a horn coming off the
yes,
the top.
They each have one horn. They
each side has a horn. Yeah.
Even Grund, who is like, I will just crush you in my hands, is just like, get away from me, little man. And you know, leave me to my drinking. But you can see he's a little rattled.
I understand. You're scared. It's fine.
You can see he's a little rattled by that much. You know, doesn't want to fight 6 guys.
He could take half of us.
right. But you know, that 7th guy is definitely gonna be the death of him.
Yeah, I lean over to Darius. I was like, oh man, I thought I was gonna have to punch that dude in the balls for a second.
You know,
Thank God you were here, Frog Boy.
yeah.
I was ready.
Savior of us all, Frog Boy.
You know, I saved this town once.
I was here. It was last week.
Feels like forever ago, man.
In the movie version of this, I'm just getting these like huge well, what's his fucking name? Samwise.
Oh,
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin. I'm getting huge Sean Astin vibes out of Frog Boy right now. Like,
yeah.
You know, I saved this town once.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, man.
Frog Boy, that was 40 years ago. We all know about it.
Feels like yesterday, man.
So is there anything else you would like to do? I think you've done a good job of sowing discord and disharmony into the ranks of Iceland's eventual combatants.
Yeah, no, that's, you know, I'm embarrassing the big guy. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till most people have gone to bed so I don't look insecure going to bed early.
Now that you said something, you're like, wow. I mean, I said it, so I gotta stay up.
Yeah.
The morning of the tournament comes quicker than Icethorn would have expected, having stayed up very late. And right outside the village proper, they've erected a large ring, and the fighting is a grand melee where everyone goes in, and the idea is that it's a fight, a barehanded, knockout, drag out fight until there are only 4 people left, at which time swords are brought, and you see all of the people that you expect, and you see Grun, and you see Hilda, and you see a new person who you can only assume is Grigor von List. He's a small man, maybe 5.5 foot. Very finely made and very rich, but it's not impractical, right? Like, it is. He's wearing very tight leather pants, but they're working pants, even though they look expensive and they've been cut. And he has a cloak on of a blue so dark it's almost black. But the weave is super fine, and it's connected with a expensive silver sash. But again, it looks like a cloak. The difference between a big navy overcoat and something you buy purely for looks.
Okay.
And he has a few men that are with him that are carrying his different things, and you see that he's wrapping his fists for the fisticuffs.
Cool.
And the mayor of Oegans End, the current mayor, the incumbent, if you would,
Not for long.
she comes to the center of the ring and invites all the fighters in. You hear Carl, the bookmaker, calling for last minute bets if anyone has anything. And the mayor, she in the center of the piece, there's a big staff, and then on the staff she hangs 4 bells, and says that the last the last 4 people in the ring, take one of these bells and to ring it, and we'll move to the next stage of the piece.
So they have to be one of the last ones standing and ring a bell.
Correct.
Not just get a bell and ring it.
Not just it's not just a mad dash.
Because if so, I'm getting in that ring.
There's a bell. Run for the bells. The bells seem like some kind of like a
minor prize.
Yeah, it's like a thing that people would like hang on their wall because they got.
I got the bell one year. I may not have won, but
right. I got a bell at Oegans End.
Yeah.
Because like most of the competitors are farm hands and caravanners. There's a couple of pro fighters, and that's So what is Icehorn's strategy as the mayor runs out of the ring and yells for the fight to start?
So how many people are there again?
There's like 20. You can't count you're doing the count. There's a lot. 2 dozen.
It's not his strong suit anyway. The counting. But yeah, so Icehorn's, I think, main strategy early on is to lean into the intimidating factor and see if he can conserve energy for later in the fight.
Oh, I love it.
So
give me a bones roll with advantage because you're intimidating. So
all right. It's gonna be a 5 and a 7. Oh, which are both successes.
You the fight starts and you basically like bark and squeal, like at a bunch of people, like, and they just decide like not to fight you. The couple of people that do come up, are you just push them out of the way. A bunch of people are getting their noses broke and people are throwing up, and guys that did this on a dare, it's very much running of the bulls, right? Like there's a guy that's just like, yeah, we're gonna do it this year, man. That guy jumps over the walls of the circular pen, and it's getting down to there's only like 10 serious fighters left, but you're feeling pretty good, and because you haven't really spent any energy. You really just kind of walked around and pushed people around.
Saw people who were already looking pretty bad and just made a big show of it.
Yeah. Like, oh, that guy looks like he's going down. I'm just going to throw that guy over. Kind of jam.
Love it.
You do notice that Van List is a pretty impressive boxer. For being a small man, he's not doing a lot. He's not like trying to like jump up and knock people over or anything. But anybody that comes near his way, he's definitely tagging him. He seems to be doing what you are doing, which is like hanging out on the outskirts. Whereas Grun and Hilda are literally just banging people together. Like Grun just picked up 2 guys and just like smashed their faces together, and then he picked up a dude and threw him.
I know you said that he had a long beard, but I have been picturing him as Izzy Hands from our Flagmane's death this entire time.
Sure.
Izzy Hands with a beard.
With a really long one, yeah.
With Blackbeard's beard.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Like, that's what he looks like. Yes. He's Izzy Hands with the really long.
With the leather pants and stuff. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, the leather pants. Except his clothes are really nice.
Fancier. Gotcha.
Not like the brocade. Of Steed, one of the greatest characters to ever grace television, and I can't wait for more of Flagman stuff. That guy's a real dude. Did you know that?
No.
He's actually. We can't get into this. He's one of my least favorite historical figures, and I was like, I need to watch the Gay Pirate Show, and I saw someone tag the name Steed, and I was like, no. So, no, we're done.
Tagging out of that one. Put an asterisk for the future.
Yeah. Good show.
Good show. There are only 8 combatants left. What does
Okay.
Ice Storm want to do?
I'm gonna. I sort of have. Iceorn has an idea that the other 3 people whose names he knows are probably going to be the final ones.
Seems
So
reasonable.
he's gonna try to do some crowd pleasing maneuvers in this sort of last time. So I'm gonna try to get 2 people near each other and just bash their skulls together real good.
You are very strong. So give me a attack roll. Right, battle 4, 5, 6, or 7 is what you're trying to do.
Okay.
But you can do advantage.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of
because you are strong.
Sure. Alright, that's a 2 and an 8. Neither one of those are battle though, so that's cool.
Yeah.
One of them is a reinforce. I don't know what that means though.
Yeah. So you do get to knock one of the guys out of the. It's not as impressive as you were trying to make it. But you throw the guy and he's about to. It looks like he's about to actually pull a boot knife out. And just as he does that, one of your men grabs him from the side of the ring and pulls him out, and all your guys come over and just give him a good kick in the stomach. Is that and then the kids are throwing trash at him as he runs away, because that's just foul play. Fair, play the game the way it's supposed to be played.
So while all this is happening, there's something I'd like to do, but I'll wait till after all that is.
No, what do you want to do?
So I want to sneak into where Van List's sword is and tamper with it, because as I was watching Van List do Van List, I was like, maybe my lie was really a bad lie, because I want to protect my friend. So I want to go and tamper with Van List's sword before the duel.
So he's got a bunch of friends that are hanging out, but none of them are the sword is with a bunch of other equipment.
Yeah.
Leaning on the thing. So how do you want to stealth in there? What do you want to?
Is it in a room, or is it out in the bleacher area?
Yeah, it's out there's no bleachers, right? It's a bunch of picture this an old timey rodeo, right? There's a big fenced pen, and a bunch of beefy warriors are beating the crap out of each other, and everyone's just kind of up against the fence until the mosh pit moves their way, and then everyone steps back.
Yeah.
So they're at one of the they're a clump of men and equipment near the fence.
So they're all watching the thing intently, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I get the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, and I quick pull them aside. I'm like, "Who you got money on?" And I go, "Well, we got it on Iceorn." And I was like, "Well, we're gonna make sure we hedge our bets a little bit. I need you to do me a solid. I'm gonna call in that favor that you all owe me, because I saved the town." And I just want you to just stand where I tell you to stand.
So if you look at your character sheet for a second, you'll see that you have 2 abilities. You have hearts and right. So hearts are in red and the spirit's in blue. So this would be a perfect example of the time where you could spend a spirit to do a narrative thing. So you're like, oh, this guy owes me a favor. Obviously, this guy, I personally know that this guy's going to do. I watched him bet on Iceorn. And you happen to be a paragon, a D4, so you have 4 spirit, where everyone else has less than that.
All right, so how many spirit do I need to make this happen with you?
Just 1.
All right, so I spend the spirit. Now, do I need to roll anything to stealth? They're going to be standing in front of the bag, looking in at the thing.
If you're going to walk over, if you're trying to Are you okay that people know that you're there?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you don't need to stealth in. You can.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of trying to buckle my shoes. Is the hilt, the handle of the sword, is it leather wrapped, or is it just one of those metal handles or wood?
It is it's leather. It's black leather. The sword itself, unlike everything else that you've seen about this guy, the sword is well used.
Yeah.
This is a this is a like a thin long sword. It's the kind of like, this is a sword for killing people. This is not a sword. This is a sword that has killed people, that will kill some more people. It looks well taken care of, but at the same time,
So leather, you said, right? Leather wrapped. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of take a little knife and just kind of poke at little parts of the leather, so it starts to fray, but not enough that it's just gonna fall apart when he picks it up, but it's gonna loosen the grip a little bit when he's handling it. And then for good measure, I want to rub a little thin sheen of fish oil to make it a little slippery.
Give me a boots roll to do this without anybody seeing.
2 and a 3.
No, just one die, because you don't have any.
Let me re-roll it again.
You don't have any specific edges that are providing you advantage.
4.
I don't see how the riders could help you with this, but that's okay because it's a boots roll, and 4 is a success. So don't listen to me. You're pretty calm about it. One of the guys turns to look around, and the guy that owes you a favor drunkenly stumbles into him and is like, "Watch where you're going, man." So you feel pretty comfortable that you've gotten away with your Hamlet-esque machinations.
Frog boy. Okay.
At this point, it's just Icethorn, Grund, Hilda, Grigor Van List, and 2 brothers that Frog Boy knows, called the Rock Manor Boys.
These guys.
The Rock Manor Boys, they're 2 big. I wouldn't say they're dumb, but they're big smiling lugs that nobody would really expect to do well, and they seem to be having the best time. And everyone else now fallen, and Grun and Hilda are advancing on the Rock Manor Boys. What would you like to do? You and Grigor are on opposite sides of the circle. Like, you can kind of see what's going on here.
I feel like not having to worry about Grun and Hilda might actually be for the best. Is there any way that Grigor and I could get behind them while they're going for the weak targets? Like, could I nod to him and be like, "All right, let's..."
You look over, and he looks at you, and it's just like, and he starts stalking behind them.
Yeah, so I'm gonna.
The crowd gets real quiet. Everyone else sees that this is like a Bugs Bunny subplot at this point.
Yeah.
Give me a blades roll.
Is that battle?
I'm sorry, a battle roll.
6.
That's a hit. Roll for effect for me. So when you roll for effect, you just roll your die. The only difference is that it explodes if you roll the highest number.
Okay. 2. So no.
Were you going to attack Hilda the Tall or Grund?
Grund.
So you go over and kick Grund in the back of his legs, knocking him to the ground. Grigor comes up and puts Hilda in like a sleeper hold, like jumps up. You're really surprised. Like he literally had to jump to get up to her neck. And the moment he does that, one of the Rock Manor boys just starts like punching her. The other Rock Manor boy, he like does like a wrestling move, and puts an elbow into Grund's face, and Grund falls to the ground, and Grund and Hilda are like laying against each other, like kind of like they've both been like knocked out. And for the first time you hear Grigor, and Grigor says, very well. And walks over and takes one of the bells and starts walking to the side. And the crowd goes crazy. And the Rock Manor boys pick up the bells, and they start, they're like headbutting each other, and their dad's crying like on the side. It's the proudest moment of his life.
Dad reaches down and clumps the lump of a bell beneath his shirt that he won many years ago.
Right, the broken bell that he still wears. He cut a piece of it off to make a ring for his wife. Everyone's taking a break, and they bring meals and food for the fighters, and a bunch of money is already trading hands with Carl, and a whole new set. And who had Ice Sword would team up with the bad guy? Anybody have that as a prop bet? There's some there's a young kid who's freaking out because he bet that the Rock Manor boys would make the finals. He's got
I'm gonna feel real bad about beating these guys up now.
He's got like 8 gold now. It's like more money than he's ever had in his entire life because the odds were crazy. And once everyone's ready, the mayor puts the 4 of you out in all the corners, and says, what are the, what weapons, have you each brought? And the Rock Manor boys both have hammers, like not even like war hammers, like shoeing hammers. And what kind of a weapon is Iceorn carrying?
One of the great axes with like the spike on the back.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Just like a real big one.
The Rock grabs his sword, and and everyone, and people are talking, and the mayor goes running in a circle and yells to begin, and the fight, remember, you don't have to kill each other. It's just the first blood, and immediately at that, Van List goes running at the Rock Manor boys. While this is going on, what are Frog Boy and Darius doing?
I've slid over near like the entourage that showed up with them. While Frog Boy was doing this in the background, we saw Darius working his way closer. I'm just kind of sizing them up. Like, what is their, like, people carry things for people all the time. Like, I carry things for Icehorn. That's fine. But that's not my only job, right?
Right.
What does it look like these guys' other job is?
Since you're actually like looking at them really closely, at this moment, you notice that they are, the one guy like picks up a what you would have before just assumed was like, a basket, like, with food in it or whatever, like but as he opens it, these guys are all reaching into it and taking out, nasty looking knives.
Cool.
They're keeping them, and you notice that there's a lot of these guys.
Referees, cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull out like the ceremonial shield that all the riders have with us today, and I'm gonna do the first couple of taps of what sounds like what would sound to the audience just like this is the beginning of a cheer, but this is also like a subtle, precise like command that we use to signal people that there's about to be danger.
I like the fact that it's you're playing We Will Rock You, and it's just supposed to be people are like, yeah, all right, yeah, we're getting into it, but really what you're saying is like, mount up, boys, like
right.
We gotta give me a actually for that why don't you spend a spirit to do that?
Perfect. Yeah,
one of your 3 spirit
sounds right.
And all across the crowd, the riders are in 2s and 3s, and they pick it up, and they're all looking around. What is Frog Boy doing?
So, Frog Boy doesn't notice this because
we've never taught Frog Boy any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frog Boy is just.
I also super like the idea that, like, whatever this previous game was, like, Frog Boy's like a new character. Someone just, they brought their hero in. We've never seen Frog Boy before, and it was just like out of nowhere, Frog Boy just became like this. I want to play Frog Boy now. Frog Boy's obviously way more fun than whatever I was doing before.
Oh yeah. Frog Boy doesn't mind getting into a scrap, but Frog Boy is aloof. Like, Frog Boy is like, Frog Boy needs an assistant to keep Frog Boy on track. But I'm gonna, I'm really worried about Vandalist because I may not like the Rocker Boys, but they are from my town that I just saved, and I want to protect
them.
What's that?
That included them. I saved them too.
It included them. Do they come from a bigger family?
They come from like a big farmer, big like ranching family, like raised ranch. What do you? I guess
they're farm folk. Like they
could be hostlers if they're working in a stable. But you said they were shoeing hammers, so maybe they're farriers, which means they do the horseshoeing.
My mother's father was the last working farrier in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Things have just been going downhill since then.
Yeah.
He was officially the official farrier of the Philadelphia rail yard until 1964.
Amazing. That's amazing.
They still use working horses till then.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
They say ever since he retired, the shoe was on the other foot.
Oh,
Other hoof.
It's lucky that we're not playing a game that I can just hand out death and destruction willy nilly.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are ostlers and farriers. They are horse folk.
So I'm looking in there, and Van List is looking dangerous, and I know that I've already preemptively tampered with his sword, but I want to make sure that he doesn't kill any of my people. So I walk up to the part of the fence where the Rock Boys family are, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh my god, he's got the sword, and I go, oh, I can't watch this. And I just look at the father and say, I'm sorry for your loss. And I start to walk away, trying to get him to engage me. Because I want to get him riled up.
What, you're trying to get the father of the Rock Manor Boys.
The Rock Manor Boys, yeah.
Old Man Manor.
Old Man Manor. I'm trying to get him riled up because I want to kind of get the Rocket Manor boys' whole family ready to charge in there if it looks like Van List is going to kill the boys.
Well, he doesn't. The father doesn't pick up on it, but the mom, she grabs you and she goes, "What do you know?"
And I was like, "You don't know? Oh,
No,
Van List doesn't fight to the first blood. Van List fights only to the death."
Dun dun dun. The shields clang in the background.
Yeah. Not to the cut, to the kill.
Never to the cut, only to the death.
Yeah, and I was like,
fight to the pain.
I just, I bet on your boys, but I've never seen a swordsman like Van List.
What is Icehorn doing?
Having a moral dilemma, I think. But he's definitely having it at a fast rate towards the developing conflict. So if the Rock Manor boys are kind of back to back or whatever, and Van List is charging them, he's kind of charging Van List. But his internal dilemma is: do I get there before or after Van List engages the boys?
How do I make it work?
Because he just saw the guy's dad, right? He knows that his new intern frog boy,
his new intern.
No, he knows these kids. They probably bullied Frog Boy in school, right? Really a connection.
I'll have you know I saved this town and including them.
The intern.
So, he's like, I should stop this, but it would be real convenient if his sword was stuck when I did encounter him. But he's like, what am I afraid of? I'm a brutal warlord. So he tries to run as fast as he can to intercept Van List before he gets to the boys.
Give me a battle roll.
Give him the horns.
Oh, let's do the metal. 6.
Roll for effect.
8.
Oh, that explodes because you're a D8.
Okay.
Roll that.
4.
All right. So you're doing 12 hearts of damage, which is more than enough to send Van List into the next life.
All right. It's an underhand swing, by the way, so he's gonna hop right over the fence.
So you line up like you're playing softball, and you swing this axe, and he's going right for the two guys. Assuming it looks almost like he's assuming that you are also going to attack them because
because we had a thing for a second.
Yeah, you'd already. And you chop him, and your axe, that the connection, like you should have just taken this dirty murderer off the face of the planet, but instead it's just like he turns into smoke, and his cloak drops to the ground, and the crowd goes absolutely bonkers. And the Rock Manor boys start screaming witchcraft, and they go running. And everyone is just like, what is going on? And as that happens, we'll take a break.
Excellent. Excellent place to pause. We are going to be back. Let's take a 5-minute break. So it's about 6 after right now. We'll come back shortly after 10 o'clock here on our clock, unless we need more time, then it'll take a little bit more. We are currently playing Return to Dark Tower, which is not the board game that you're already excited about. It's the RPG that's coming out using the polymorph system from 9th level, set in the world of the Dark Tower and Return to Dark Tower. I'm very excited about it. We're going to come back and keep on playing, find out what happens in this delightful tournament in right about 5 minutes.
Great.
While we're doing that, go over and check out the game at ttrpg.link/RtDTKS. Get signed up to get notified when it goes live. And we are live here again on Plus One EXP. We're playing Return to Dark Tower, the RPG, with our good friend from over at Ninth Level Games, Chris. Chris, why don't you go ahead and take us back as the whiff of smoke that used to be the bad guy hovers around the axe of Icethorn the Bull.
Icethorn's mighty axe crashes through, and he Obi-Wans into a pile of laundry. A very expensive cloak. And just as he does that, everybody in the crowd screams, and then all of a sudden there are like screams of bloody murder. Darius, the men with the knives just start stabbing people.
I stabbed the closest one to me. I was just going to knock him out beforehand, but if they've already just laid into people, then I stab. I'm going to stab one near me and call for the riders.
Give me a blades roll, a battle roll. Someday
that is a 5.
That's a hit. Give me a effect roll.
That's a 6, and 4, so that's 10.
Nice. You step through the crowd, chop one of these guys down, saving someone's life, and they immediately get up and look around. The riders can all see you and begin to move.
Yeah, I say Iron Bulls rodeo.
Everybody turns around and goes as the hero whose forces they are, Icethorn, can you make a battle roll for the Iron Bulls?
Yes. Is that going to be with the D8 still?
Yep. So
did they have a different
about
die?
a polymorph game is you always only ever roll your die.
Okay. So the riders don't have a different die size. All right. They got a 4.
Okay, which is a hit.
Oh.
So then roll effect. 4, 5, 6, or 7 is a battle roll.
Right. 1 on that effect.
So they're all engaged in combat all throughout. One guy gets advantage and goes down.
There's a reason Darius is your right hand man.
Right. So
Not gonna lie, my HR process is size based.
you used to have a different right hand man, but then you met Darius and he was slightly taller.
Yeah.
You're like, you get out of here.
You to the left hand guys. Sorry.
Darius is skilled, but most of these guys were just the big ones.
All right, what's Frogboy doing?
So I'm sure there's one near Frogboy, right?
I'm sure there are.
So I look over to the remaining members of the Rock Mountain family, and I was like, "Did you see that? Did you see how my intern went and rescued your boys from that terrible witch menace?" And I go, "Now look, I will save this town once again from this current scourge." And I run. Now I don't have any weapons, right? It's just my fist.
I mean, yeah, you can have any kind of weapons you want.
I'm gonna say Frogboy has like iron gauntlets. Like he's a pugilist, as it were.
A pugilist.
I've heard it both ways. So he's gonna roll up and try to knock out or kill, preferably, the nearest dude to him. So I rolled 2 4s.
Well, you only roll 1 die.
Okay.
Because you don't have any edges. So you roll 2 dice when you have an edge that would do something.
Right. 4.
Well, yeah. You do have a magic weapon, though.
Oh, I do. What's that?
If you're just going up and you're just going to punch a dude.
Magic iron gauntlets.
Yeah, it works for me.
That's fine. Then you can roll 2 of them.
4 and a 4.
4 to 4 is that's actually a super good hit. So
Oh, thank God.
roll effect.
Which I roll the dice again.
Yeah, roll your die again.
2.
But roll it. Give me another one as if it exploded because it was a critical.
A crit.
4.
Will that one explode?
That one actually explodes.
So roll one more time.
Oh wow. 2.
So 8. So this little, I'm picturing this, Frog Boy's not a big man, but walks over and then is like, and just like this metal fist, and it's like almost like an anime thing, like where like all of a sudden you just like clock this dude, hits him and like sends him over into the pit where everyone was fighting.
And I say, you just got knocked the frog out.
John's been sitting on that one since this afternoon, I guarantee.
Oh, that's super good. You just got knocked the frog out. Love it. The assassins are running about. Now, you may have noticed, because I didn't even say this, but all polymorph games, or most polymorph games, I should say, are all polymorph games. All polymorph are player active. I don't roll dice. Like there's no dice rolling. There's nothing for me to do that. I just say what happens. So.
Right.
And then they're your responses. So you've begun to engage them. Iceland, you're like standing over, your axe in this piece. You guys are engaged in this fight. From a narrative perspective, if we were to pull back and look, the assassins have, it looked like they were all wearing like these rich, like blue cloaks, like Van List. But as they go, they're turning them over, and they're black, and they have the symbol of the Bane of Omens, like marked, and they're all pulling up their scars over their faces, and they're just willy-nilly going about and like stabbing people, and so everyone is fleeing in every direction, and as they're doing that, give me a books roll, Iceland.
Your strong suit.
Yeah. It was a 1. So no.
1's great because that's your banner.
But
Anything you roll a 1, if it's a thing that your character can do, it succeeds. And what's about to happen is there is someone behind you.
Oh, okay.
So the question was, did you notice it? And the answer is you feel the presence behind you. So without knowing what's behind you, what do you want to do? Because you definitely feel that someone's coming behind you.
I know where my friends are, right? I see all of them.
You know that they're definitely not in this battlefield.
Okay.
You heard the rider call.
Yeah. I'm definitely on edge, so I'm just gonna like turn around axe first. Not like a full attack, but if someone is right behind me, that's gonna be a problem for them.
Someone is right behind you and jumps away as you like spin around axe first. It looks like one of these masked brigands, but you're pretty sure you've seen the top half of these eyes before. It looks an awful lot like Van List.
That son of a bitch.
Man. I feel like Isorin's just gonna be like, I clearly didn't hit him hard enough the first time, and try again.
That seems very legit.
Um,
Give me a blades roll.
so
Give me a battle roll.
but he is also going to scream at the top of his lungs, Van Last! Um,
Love it.
that's a 5.
That's a hit. Give me an effect roll.
5.
You swing the axe, into the guy. And as you hit him, he goes down, and his mask falls, and you can see he looks like Van List, but he doesn't. He doesn't have the beard. And as he falls to the ground, he turns into smoke, leaving behind a black cloak.
Is the other cloak still there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I start scanning everywhere for a bald guy.
Looking for a bald guy?
Yeah, like if he came back without the beard, then maybe he's gonna come back without the other hair. This is the line of reasoning.
That's a solid line of reasoning. I can get behind that.
Each time I murder him, he comes back with less hair.
Yeah, this is.
You can see that there are most of the people have now there's a bunch of people laying dead on the ground, and people have taken to running away, and a contingent of there are 6 of the black clad assassins, and they are linking up. Like they're joining up together to fight against the riders who are moving in force. So they're attacking the riders. Can you give me a battle roll for the riders to defend themselves?
Riders, got it. 5.
And give me another one, please.
4.
Great. The riders managed to hold off all the attacks. So none of the riders fall. So that if that had happened, you started out with 12 riders, you could have lost riders, you could do a thing. One of the actions you'll be able to do outside of the game. So we didn't talk about this before, but the idea is that there's 3 phases to gameplay. So every session, the first phase is we're going to go and do the adventure. Right? We're going to do whatever we're going to set out. And then the second one is to figure out what our goals are so that we can say how much time is spent to do those things. And then the third one is accounting, where we're going to figure out all those pieces. So, and then travel. The thing is the last stage could be we have to go to this other place, and that's going to take us 6 weeks or something. We're going to go to this dungeon, right? But one of the things you could do is say we want to recruit more soldiers, right? And it's okay, well, that's the thing your hero is going to do while they're not on screen. And so that way you could actually say we're going to gain. The one part of the game that's not complete is the actual end fight with the big bad after the year piece, because we're trying to put a bunch of mechanical pieces in that will have things how many guys do you have, and what does that mean? And we have full armies, and we're going to attack at that scope. But the reason I was saying all that is because at this level, you could be doing a fight where you're losing hit points just like you would, except those hit points are
your raiders,
literally soldiers, right? So
cool.
All right, so the men are engaged, they're fighting. What are y'all up to?
Since it looks like assassins and raiders have squared off against each other and they're holding their own, I think I'm scanning for other threats. I've hopped up on the railing for the thing to get a better eye of the crowd, and see if I can pick out what's happening.
Give me a books roll.
No. I mean, I got up there real good.
Yeah, you got up there, no problem, right?
Yeah.
A
lot of chaos.
There is a lot of chaos. There's so much chaos, in fact, that what you do notice, even though you're not spotting anything particularly strange, is that at this thing is you hear over the din the ringing of a bell from in the village. So you've been outside of the village this whole time.
Interesting.
And it's not like one of these champion bells. It's like a big.
And I'm guessing there's no bell tower in the village.
There's no bell tower, but there is like a bell on like the village hall or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm gonna rally the citizens of the village to take up arms, and we are gonna head down to the source of the bell and handle some business if there's business
to be handled.
So I mean, I could use one of my cinematic things, right?
Yeah. You could definitely spend a spirit.
I set a spirit, and I'm like, "Come on, guys, let's go get these mother froggers. Let's go."
Yeah, and that is the intention, right? So the intention with stars and mazes or spirit in this game is to spend them for that cinematic purpose. So like, so you spend a spirit and rally the town to their future mayor, and they're picking up their and they're going down the main drag, and the village hall, which is right across from the coffee house. There is a man in a black cloak in front of is standing in front of the main hall or of the village hall, ringing the bell. And then the black cloak looked very much like what all these other guys are wearing. And then when he sees you marching towards, he stops ringing the bell and he runs inside the village hall and barricades the doors.
I mean, we're walking down the street hard. It is like the Warriors Survivor Series, like 92 poster where all those dudes are walking down the street together. Like, it's bad news coming this dude's way. So he barricades himself inside?
Yeah.
So it's a town hall. This is my town. Would I know of a different way in?
It's not that big of a building.
Okay.
Like it's a pretty rustic, kind of like a long hall. But you do think it's weird that he would ring the bell and then go and hide inside of it.
So I tell one of the townsfolk to go tell Isorn something's up. And then I'm going to have another dude hand me an axe. And I'm going to start chopping away at the door.
Okay. Isorn and Darius, you see that going on. Over time, the riders overcome the assassins, and they try to keep one alive, but the assassin eats some poison, as assassins are wont to do.
Assassins!
Assassin! Why are you doing that? I mean, because you're calling them assassins. They're not really assassins. They seem more like cultists.
Cultist.
Even worse. We must be playing an Elder Scrolls game. There's just cultists.
Souls-like, Return to the Dark Tower, your favorite Souls-like mazes RPG.
The day I make a Souls-like game will be the day that I have like just given up on all of my design principles.
Yeah.
My games are all too light for that. Because my Souls-like game would be like this. Roll a d12. If you don't roll a 12, you die. That's it. That's the whole game.
That feels pretty on brand.
Yeah.
Gonna run a Souls-like funnel using kobolds ate my baby just to upset you.
Oh, no, that I love. That's a great idea. I know some nerds that would be way into that.
So we no longer see Poofy McSassin face poofing in and out either.
Well,
he
might be over at the.
He might be. I'm making sure.
As you've killed each one of these guys, as they've died, soon after they die, they just like turn into smoke.
Oh, they all do that. It's not just.
And they all look remarkably similar.
Okay.
Like they're definitely not the same guy, but they all look like they could be.
Okay. I'm gonna like leap from the ring of this to like the nearby. I run across the back of a horse to the nearby roof to make my way over to town center also too. And I just want to start scanning the crowd for people who look like the amalgamation of faces of this dude.
Scan and enhance. You don't everybody that's in the crowd you recognize over the last couple of days of being here. Like,
okay.
you know, you're recognizing like the butcher and the baker and the candlestick maker
And the bookmaker and the hoopier and the farrier.
The hoopier, the farrier, the
courtswain, the road maker.
What you don't see the bookmaker.
Ooh, that's a plot twist.
Don't see Carl, eh?
Don't see Carl.
Carl's been around this whole time.
Yeah, you've seen Carl been out in the open the whole time.
If Carl dies before he pays me back for my bet, I'm gonna be pissed.
I don't even know if I
Carl.
Technically won.
You technically won.
You gotta make the two Rock Manor boys bleed, I think, technically, before you.
I think they left the ring.
They left the ring. That counts.
They?
They surrendered.
Okay. And I guess turning to the smoke could technically be leaving the ring also too.
Well, you start to get into all of the high tech gambling things. Like, was it winning or was it just not losing? Like, what was the?
Iceborne goes over to consult the rule books. At which point, realizes there's nothing inside that says a dog cannot enter.
That a dog cannot play basketball.
That's right. So I scan. I don't see anybody. That's what I'm doing while Iceborne figures out what they want to do.
Well, if the writers kind of have stuff handled, and I saw Frog Boy lead a bunch of worryingly unarmed townspeople that way.
A kid from town runs and yells and says, Iceborne, Frog Boy says something weird is happening in town.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to make sure none of them die.
I'm
going to go quick.
As you are coming into the town, there is a strange noise coming from behind the town hall, like a sound like earth moving, but not like it sounds like almost like sand being poured, but it's kind of like earth pulling its there's like almost a slow motion explosion of dirt from behind the town hall, and climbing over top of the town hall comes this gigantic spider.
Frog me.
Like, for something of this size to move as quietly as it seems to be doing is unnatural. But I mean, it's bigger than the building. And it's got a face that almost looks human, but with all of these eyes and like multiple mandibles, like in places that. So it's not like a centipede. It's not like a drider. It's like a giant spider, but it's a spider that has, instead of just eyes in a face, it almost looks human.
Okay.
Definitely.
Does it look like Carl?
Does it look like Carl? No, yeah. It was Carl all along.
The one bet no one placed, a giant spider attacks town. Causing
Who had Widowmane spider attacks town? Most of the townspeople just like drop to the ground, and they are riven with fear, because I mean there's like a kaiju level spider on top of the town hall.
Have you made it through the door yet, Frog Boy?
Frog Boy was chopping a hole in the door and about to pop his face and say, "Here's Froggy," but God laughs when you make plans. So
yeah, so like Frog Boy's like here at the door, and the spider's coming this way. So he's getting all ready. He's got his line ready, and this giant spider comes over, and the town, it erupts into new horror. And then, Frog Boy turns around and sees the crowd, but can't see the giant spider hysterically above him.
Why are you guys all laying down like that? What's going on?
I'm on a roof across the street.
Yeah.
I'm going to heroically throw a dagger at this thing's face to see if I can do any sort of damage with it.
Give me a blades roll at disadvantage because it's gigantic. So you're gonna roll 2 dice.
Yeah. So I rolled a 6. I rolled a 6 and a 4.
That's good. They both succeed. Give me an effect roll.
Or 4.
Okay. It hits into the spider, and there's this like horrible ichor that falls out of it, and the spider screeches and screams. Frog Boy, you hear the very over that scream, even though that scream is everywhere, you hear a bell.
Where's the bell coming from? The bell coming from inside, or
Coming from inside the building?
I bust in there. Here's Froggy.
Let me go back and just do the joke one more time. All right. You're rushing in. Iceborne, you are walking up the main street. You see this giant spider. What do you do?
I'm gonna say a word not fit for streams.
We get one F word, and since the only one used so far has been frog, you're fine.
Well, Icearn's gonna say something truly imaginative and vulgar, and then just start sprinting with and heft the big axe, but not have too many other thoughts.
You hear the $6 Million Man theme. As you go into the slow motion jog, lets us all know that you are firmly committed to attacking a giant monster. Frog Boy, you break into the town hall, and a black cloaked figure is at the front of the room, and there is a magic circle that's a glowing magic circle that's been inscribed around the town bell, and he's hitting it with what looks like a rod.
Is the inscription painted into the floor?
It's like floating in like magic letters.
Is he's behind? How big is the bell?
Big enough that if you were to bang it, maybe this big, like 1/8 of the size of the Liberty Bell.
No cracks though.
No cracks.
I stop for a second. I lean out the door and I go, "You guys should run." And then I.
Do you say that in such a way so that people could actually hear you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so I'm going to look at it. I want to fling a gold piece at the bell to see what happens when something crosses the sigil.
Sure. The gold piece goes across the magic circle.
Uh-huh.
A line of blue flame around it as it cuts through.
Uh-huh.
And then it hits the bell.
Uh-huh.
And there is a gorgeous ringing sound, a clear metal on metal bong. And when that happens, right after that, you hear a scream from the spider.
Like a painful scream?
Yeah, like it's really, and the entire building shakes. And this spider spits venom, and some people get killed in the street from acidic giant widow venom.
You hear me yell from outside, "It's weak against daggers!" Having no idea what just happened inside.
My only weakness, weapons.
But it did sound like it was in pain, right?
Yeah, it sounded at least unhappy. More like pain.
So then, do I make eye contact with the guy? Does it look like Carl under the hood, or is he has a hood up? You can't really say.
The guy looks like Carl.
And
Now that you're really looking at him, Carl looks like a really old man version of all those other guys.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out the coin purse that I have. I've got a rather large coin purse.
You reach down for your coin purse, and then we cut to Iceorn. You are running down in slow-mo towards the creature. Give me a blade roll.
2.
All right, that's a miss.
Yeah.
You just as you jump into the air to attack this giant monster, it starts doing that screech that we talked about a second ago, and knocking parts of the building off, and you just get knocked over in the rubble. You're gonna lose 3 hearts. So
ooh, that's hurty.
yes.
I had a question about the rules.
Yeah.
But it was a dramatic moment, so I didn't ask it then. If you have disadvantage and you fail on both dice, is there a critical fumble associated
Correct.
with it? Okay.
Correct. Everything is symmetrical.
Excellent.
The only time you can have a critical failure is if you are disadvantaged in the situation. So you would never have a critical failure in a regular situation.
Because you're always going to get banners or crowns on normal rolls.
Right.
All right, good to know.
All right. What does Darius do?
So as the wreckages come down, there's a piece of building that's kind of spanning the street. So I'm going to hop over and run towards the other rooftop, drawing out my sword and trying to slash at this thing's legs.
Yeah, give me a blade roll.
That's 4.
Roll for effect.
That's a 6 and another 6 and a 1.
13. Okay. You chop off one of its legs. The building shakes again. And the creature spins its hideous, gigantic face towards you. Inside the building, Frog Boy is hefting a bag of coins.
I dump about 10 of them into my hand. And I look at Carl and I say, Carl, you know better than to bet against the house. And I whip them all at the bell, all 10 of them.
Give me a boots roll.
Okay, let's see what we got here. 4.
You throw the coins, and they begin to hit the bell. And as each gold coin hits the bell, there is a different ring. And as the monstrous spider starts to vibrate and shake and scream, and eventually, after a few more coins hit in the piece, it jumps off the back of the building and burrows back into the hole and flees.
Swords work too.
You come face to face with Carl. I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you, Frog Boy.
Well, Carl.
All hail the Bane of Omens! And he charges at you with his dagger. Do you want to engage him in combat or get out of the way?
Oh, I'm gonna beat his ass.
Give me a blade roll. Do not get stabbed.
He killed some of my constituents. 4.
Wow. Awesome. You managed not to get stabbed by him. Give me a blades roll to attack him.
4. This dice, when I was in Wisconsin at GaryCon, I went to the Gygax Memorial. I placed all these beautiful dice on the stone and I had them blessed.
I will point out, I think since you're using your magic weapon, you also do get advantage on that if you want to see if you get another 4.
Yeah, that's true.
1.
Roll. But that first 4 exploded.
The first 4 what?
The 4 for effect exploded.
1.
All right. 5 damage is more than enough. You pound Carl, crushing his windpipe as he dives for you, and he falls to the ground. In the days to come, as you help clean up the village from this horrific piece, you find that Carl, the bookmaker, has lived in this town for a long time, but has obviously been kind of he's also kept records of his financial dealings, with Van List, who is it appears that Van List might be a whole bunch of people. He's part of the Bane of Omen's network of assassins and spies, and you have at least thwarted him here today. But you know nothing more about the Bane of Omens and what his plans are. So we would wrap up the adventure. We go through a cleanup phase here where we would see anything else. We would also check off whatever else was going on. So your other heroes could be doing something right now. We could find out that, so-and-so is going to go to a dungeon, or, this is, each of your places. And then we would figure out what we wanted to do in the next session. So, I would be like, well, so we still know about the peaks of the gin. We know about the long water piece, or there might be some new information that we've gotten from some other. My expectation in games will be that you would start out a campaign and you would put one more seal in the number of players. So if you had a 3-player game, there would be 4 seals, and that would be the baseline. And you would start out with the players knowing about 2 of them and not knowing about 2 of them, because you'd always know 2 and however many more. And part of it would be spending time and effort to find out more seals. So that was really fun.
I was. Let's do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game we just played and talk to them about the creation of that game. Today we're talking about Return to Dark Tower, which is a polymorph empowered system set in the world of not Stephen King's, but the other Dark Tower.
Well, it's funny from a gaming perspective. There's also Dark Tower.
Yeah,
there's a 3rd property called Dark Tower in the world of gaming by Janelle Jacquez that is currently on Kickstarter with
that's true.
By DTC.
No SEO challenges here.
One of our writers, when I had said, I was super excited, I was like, yeah, we're gonna get to work on the Dark Tower on Dark Tower, and he was like, the Stephen King thing, isn't that one of your favorites? And I was like, well, it is. But that's not what I'm talking about. And then he was like, oh, do you mean the old Judges Guild thing? And I was like, I don't. And he was like, then what do you mean? I was like, the board game. And he was like, I never heard of the board game.
Yeah, so just also right now, just so you know, Deal and Lead by Colin Lesueur, also known as Odin's Beard RPG, is a Dark Tower-inspired RPG and set in the Stephen King universe. It's funding right now. You can also go back, Janelle Jacquez' Dark Tower from Goodman Games' current Kickstarter. Next week is when you'll be able to support Return to Dark Tower, the RPG. Using the polymorph system. Chris, we got to play Mazes a little while ago here on stream. It was an absolute blast. It was very cool to see it transferred into another setting. I've been very excited about this. Always excited when y'all reach out to play. But tell us a little bit about, people always want to know this. First, tell us a little bit about the polymorph system. People just got to see it in action a little bit. For anybody who joined us late, though, tell us a little bit about that. And then maybe tell us a little bit about what it's been like to apply it to another IP.
So polymorph at its core, follows a couple of simple rules. In fact, we've been developing a document. We call it the Systems, Worlds, and Other Resources document. You can actually go to our website, ninthlevel.com, and you can ask for a copy of it, because there's a little registry thing. And basically it tells you, it's a 0.7 version of the document. We're not ready for the primetime release, hopefully sometime next year. And it's a document that says, this is what polymorph is. Polymorph isn't a game system. It's a system for making games. It's not like a universal system. Not every polymorph game works the same. In fact, there's different kinds of ways to apply the principles that make up a polymorph game. The core of it is you as a player have a character, and that character is defined by a singular polyhedral die, a D4, a D6, a D8, or a D10, that determines the kind of role that you want to do in the action. And then the game system will define how do we change those actions and how do we drive those actions with resource-based economies. So Dark Tower is compatible with Mazes, but a different game. So the characters, you can make one character and play in either system, but the characters would play differently in each system because the resource economies are different. Right? And one of the things that we did with Mazes is super fine hone to the idea of we're going into a dungeon. We're going to go into a dungeon. We're going to experience a dungeon, and then that's going to be the end of it. Like literally gets rid of all the other parts of the game. It says like we start at the door to adventure. And so with Return to Dark Tower, we were like, okay, well, let's just say Mazes is how you do dungeons in Return to Dark Tower. How do we do the rest of the things that we want to do in this story form? And this story form is one of the most classic of all fantasy story forms, which is the big bad is coming. We have to go on a series of quests and adventures in either to stop the bad guy's machinations or raise up our own abilities so that we can fight the bad guy. And so that's where we start with Return to Dark Tower from a polymorph perspective.
Awesome. I had a really fun time playing it. Let's hear what some of the other players thought. Also, if y'all are watching right now and you have any questions, feel free to toss them into the chat. Would love to hear from all of our watchers about what you thought. If you're watching later and you have one, toss it in the comments. We'll see if we can get an answer for you also, too. Let's start with the golden voice here on the channel. A frog so nice, the princess kissed him twice. I don't know. We've got John Hambone McGuire. John, tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Return to Dark
Boy
Tower.
McGuire.
Frog Boy will live forever. I'm John Hambone McGuire. I'm the co-host of the Vintage RPG podcast, The Voice. I'm also the co-creator of 321 Action RPG. You can find me across social media at John McGuire RPG, on the Twitter, on the Instagram, and on the TikToks. I love this, man. Chris, I gotta say, this is such a beautiful system. And I'm gonna say a bunch of nice things about you, like you're not here, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Earmuffs, man.
Earmuffs. I should have said earmuffs. It is, you talk about the design principles of it. I can see like when you go and you bounce from game to game, like, I'm looking at Rebel Scum on my table right now, to other things that you've done as well. How you can adjust this to work with any kind of system is really cool. And also, like, for those who may be familiar with, the Dark Tower and the epicness of it, I think just playing it with you all tonight, I do see the matrix that you guys are trying to work through here, where you will have the ability to move things along in other places, because you're not going to be everywhere at all times. So it doesn't work so linear as a lot of other RPGs do. And yet, like, man, I loved the concept for, these battle dudes are going to take care of this with just one roll. So you do find a really cool way, I think, of marrying the cinematic and solving the problem of what do I do with all these dudes to be able to meet this moment. So, I'm loving it. I don't know what they can see on the stream, but like I'm looking at the character sheet here. For me, one thing that really turns me off to a lot of games is a lot of clutter and a poorly designed character sheet. But this is gorgeous, and I really, at all times, know what I'm supposed to be doing. So that made it super easy for me to jump in and play. So, man, I'm pumped for this.
Thank you. Those were some very close and near to my heart kind of comment. I mean, the character sheet, when we showed it to Rob and Justin at Restoration, they were both immediately like, "Oh, I get it. Now I understand what you're doing. This is like, we're super excited, right?" Like, and that's kind of always our intention with a polymorph game. Like, if I can put everything the players need on the sheet, because ultimately don't want to ever pick up a book. Like that's the optimal. We talked about the player tower and those kind of things. That is just different ways of making the information accessible, so it's always there. So
yeah, I love it. I was giving John a hard time because Frog Boy 100% was like everybody wanted to play Frog Boy, but also for two reasons. One, it's Frog Boy. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
But also, I love a D4 character in the system because it's like your certain things are just out of your reach, but you also still have a pretty significant chance of even being able to do the things that are out of your reach, just based on the way that the dice. D4 people are crit monsters. Like they hit high rolls on a fairly regular basis. Like it's a very, very cool thing to see how the different dice bases come across. But for somebody who really struggles with, oh man, that dice roll just didn't work out, you can't beat a D4 character in any polymorph system.
The D4, highly underrated dice. Also deadly to a bare foot.
I should get a D4 tattoo. That is definitely what I should do.
John, did you have any other questions?
My one real question is just from like an adaptation standpoint, because this is, it's a very expansive board game. It's not just like you're going to go around in a circle, pass go, collect $200. Like even at the table, there is a lot of layers to this. From a design standpoint, did you have to kind of maybe give yourself tunnel vision to just work out piece by piece and see how it all kind of fit together, or did you try to just tackle it all at once?
So we started with what was the through line, right? Because especially when we're doing any polymorph game, and we have polymorph games about being cartoon princesses, and our next one is about being magical horses when they go to high school, and
love it.
Punching Nazis in space, or being telepathic dogs fighting monsters in Chernobyl, right? Like each one of them has a very different through line, like a very different thing that says, what is it that I'm doing? So the two questions that we always ask ourselves is, who are the characters? Like, what do they do? And how does that look? Like, how do I get from point A to point B? It's not just about existing in a space. And in Return to Dark Tower, the point is we have to get to the tower, right, and defeat the big bad, right? Like, so we started there and said, okay, what does a game look like if it always, like, my first thought actually on this was that every campaign would start with all of the heroes standing on the bridge line looking at the tower, right? And then you start and you say, like, hey, a lot of stuff happened for us to get here. Flashback 12 months ago, right? Like, and I haven't been able to quite get that exactly the way I want it to be. So I don't know if that's how it's going to be in the final book, but that was like the piece. Like, luckily, the game is extensive and there is a lot of information. And what's really interesting, a lot of it is completely hidden from the players until they experience it in the game.
Right.
But Restoration has done a lot of work, but they've given us a pretty free hand to develop stuff. So
that's cool, man.
And even though this is a game with 40 years of information, it's not like we don't have any baggage. Right? We're not against, So our hope is that the game is more about what your group makes of it. We never make any kind of assumptions that like our next game is going to be the game that someone plays over and over and over again, right? Like if you play it once, that would be awesome. If you really have a great time and you experience it, it was awesome. I would like this to be a game that groups play and then talk about it forever.
That's the goal, man.
Right? It would be awesome.
I honestly think that this system is the one to be able to execute it for something as complex as a Dark Tower. So cheers to you, man. And also shout out to Restoration Games, baby. I'm into you for a lot of money already. So
I mean, so much.
You're gonna keep on going.
I can't wait for Thunder Road.
I gotta get me that Jeff Goldblum mini for Unmatched. So
he's beautiful. He's beautiful.
Awesome. Let's pop up to Irene. Irene, tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Return to Dark Tower.
Yeah, so I'm Irene. I make TikToks talking about independent and small press RPGs as Space Job. I also recently back on Twitter as Space Job RPG. And I work at a game store and I'm around games basically all the time. So yeah, I have been wanting to play a polymorph game for a while, and I've never gotten it to table. I've read Rebel Scum, thought it sounded cool, but also I never could like envision how it would actually play at the table. And it was a lot easier than I thought. I always somehow there was a disconnect where I was like, this seems complicated, and it's not. I loved the Return to Dark Towers, like the idea of everyone having their companions that are also off doing stuff, and like having, you know, forces or your like squad. It feels very, you know, old school. I like a lot of OSR games, so something like that where it's got sort of the classic feeling of, you know, having these forces to command and then like sort of cut away to what they're doing while you're doing your thing. Very cinematic. So I thought that was really neat. I had a blast. My main takeaway from this is like design bug. Like, run a game jam, please. Like, my takeaway is I want to play with the polymorph system now.
Yeah. We'll get you a copy of the sword document. Like I said, that is definitely my hope for polymorph in general. Like everything that we've done, it's funny. We didn't think about making mazes first. That wasn't our initial intention. Our initial intention was to make a bunch of different games, and then Steve Sedgety from Billy Pulpit was like, "Hey, man, if you don't make a fantasy game, someone else will." Like he's like, you just need to preempt that, right? Like that's just the. But it's good for me because like fantasy is my heart place, right? Like old school like 1970s paperbacks, whether they're RPG rules or stories or, you know, that's what I'm into, you know. So this has been a really fun way of exploring that. But everything we've done the design work from a crunchy perspective, right? And then now it's about like take your narrative idea and take your narrative design chops, and you can express them in this because we've already figured out how this game works. You don't need to do that. You can apply these principles to your narrative piece, and what you should get is you should get a fun playable game on the other side, you know. So
yeah, no, I loved it. Irene, any questions? If not, I have a second question for you that I will probably annoyingly ask you every time you come on, just so that you and I have a chance to talk about it. From a scale of 1 to GURPS, what did you think?
Oh,
I really liked it. I'm not putting it on a number scale.
I didn't give you a number scale. I gave you 1 to GURPS, which does, you know.
Yeah, I think the answer is GURPS Vampire the Masquerade. That's
excellent.
Yeah. It's GURPS Castle Falkenstein. That's the
oh man. Yeah.
Pulling it out.
No, I was just messing with you. If you think of a question, let us know. And also, if people have questions, let us know. I'll share some of my thoughts so we can loop back around. I had a blast. My first thought and the thing I wrote down, and this is a weird thing my brain goes to that a lot of people don't because of my background in doing like large scale social gaming events, specifically at conventions and other stuff. Man, the concept of like taking this game, I don't even know if taking it to a convention, the concept of hosting a weekend event in Philadelphia where people showed up and it was almost West Marches style, where there were a bunch of parties and small GMs, and there were different groups adventuring across the land, dealing with their own threats, the same central bane happening, and then having whatever final table is who has solved that problem, or the entire people kind of coming together as forces at the end, and knowing that like there are all these different weird things happening in the world, but doing it very much West Marches meets Forged in the Dark style, where factions in the world are constantly moving because that tech is already built in. But going to an event where that was kind of happening and there was this big kind of sprawling lived experience would be an absolute blast with this game. And so
you're pitching that because I want to go to that.
Right. I'm saying
I want to play that. I don't want to write it.
Right. I need 9th level to finish this, and then we can partner up. And John's close enough in New Jersey to make it over.
I'll drive
Irene, hope you can make it up.
I'll drive.
But the concept of the actual way that time is managed, in that lets you really engage in a cinematic space of saying like, yeah, we can just say like everybody's going to play this time. We're going to catch everybody up on time between rounds. We're going to play 6 things over the end. We're going to figure out what's happening with this, but everybody's kind of working against the mega boss for this. I'm a huge fan of mega games and what they can do. I very rarely see a new system come out that I think is just like screaming for mega game realities. Mazes is such a solid system, but this specific setting and some of the tech that you've built in with the way the clocks are working really primes it for, oh, you could do this in a weekend, but still keep really solid time differential realities in play, and have people hear about what's happening across the land as things are happening in this area too. And I just think that's a really cool reality that you don't see emerge out of games very often. So, I don't know what Kickstarter stretch goal that is, but make it one.
Well, we'll see how things go. If we end up needing some crazy goals,
Polymorph Con 2023.
I'll pull it. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about that reality. So y'all are going to Kickstarter. Tell us a little bit about what that's going to look like for y'all. What your hopes are.
Kickstarter is May the 31st, which is next Tuesday. Here's the coolest thing about the Kickstarter. Everyone that backs it gets the Roll20 module for free.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome.
Right? That pretty cool. Roll20 works with us, and they were like, "Hey, we'll work this out." So Roll20 module included in every. So there'll be a digital level. You can get it with the Roll20. You can get the hardcover. The hardcover is going to be old school styling. So it's going to look like an old school orange spined TSR book. So that'll be the game, and then we're going to have the player tower that we talked about. So the player tower with the accessory kit,
the biggest dark tower that's ever existed in a dark tower. We're just putting it out there.
Largest, darkest tower, and a jam screen. We will. You'll be able to back mazes that'll be included. We're not doing a lot of craziness outside of that because we're really focused on trying to make those specific components. The player tower itself is already pretty crazy, so. But interest is really high. Obviously, Return to Dark Tower Kickstarter for Restoration Games was very successful. The game has delivered. It is basically sold out. Expected some point in the very near future for another Return to Dark Tower. Return to Dark Tower Kickstarter. They're going to do some expansion material and a reprint. So that's going to be the focus. In addition to this, while this is all going on, is we're going to finally be delivering mazes. The hardcover, we already delivered the PDFs, but the actual books here in this world of paper shortages and shipping logistics issues. And so we'll be running a bunch of these games at Origins and Gen Con. And we're trying to do a Return to Dark Tower special secret thing at Gen Con. So
that's good to know because I'll be at Gen Con, so that's great. It's great to hear.
I do have a question, but it's definitely a day job question, which is will retailer Kickstarter backers be able to give the Roll20 modules as part of it to people who buy it from the stores, like bits and mortar style, or is that not a thing?
I don't know the answer to that, but that's a great question that we should know an answer to. So I'll make sure that answer is answered before. We are doing for retailers. We're doing a basic package that's just like $75. You get 3 copies of the game, or $75 in credit if you want to just order from us in the future. So we've had some problems in the past where we don't want to do a huge buy-in for retailers, even if they want to buy a bunch, because you don't want to just tie up all your money. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we don't have to follow you, track you down in the future. So doing a thing that makes it nice and easy to get to. You can just say yes, and if you do nothing else, you'll just get some books in the future. And if you want to interact, it's we're not going to hold you back because we do everything at, full discount for retailers because we want retailers to support Kickstarters, and we don't want them to not have everything that, different folks want to interact with buying games in different ways. So
awesome. Well, Gorgor Big in the chat is very excited to get their copy of Mazes. Hopefully, anybody who's watching is excited to back the game on the 31st. I'm very much looking forward to see what this is. I've been excited about it since last December. So glad we got a chance to play. So again, you can go right now to sign up if you go to ttrpg.link /RtDTGame, the link right at the bottom of the screen.
If you go through, right, you go and you sign up right now. Because if you sign up, so two very important things. If you sign up for the advance piece, you will get a free golden finished coin that is unique to this campaign. That is a day and night of the tower that we did. That is only that's going to be the way to do it. If you back in the first 48 hours, like what we did with Mazes, we're doing a 1981 demake of the game. So we're doing Darkest Tower, which is by Radley Milton Games, and it's what would the RPG of this look like as an amateur zine in 1981?
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The Mazes demake, Monsters and Mazes, I think is really good. Like, I've played it and really enjoyed it. And we actually ran a LARP where they played the game Monsters and Mazes in the LARP, and then they became their characters, and it was all craziness and stuff. It was super fun. And this is, I'm hoping, as good as that. And the look, I think, is actually is there, and it's just a really fun. The concept of its demake came from video games where people were I'm going to make Halo for the Atari 2600, where you have to be how do I take this and express what the game is doing, but at a lower level of technology. Yeah. What's super interesting is that everything that we're doing in Polymorph, everything we're doing in most modern games, could have been done at an earlier time. We just hadn't developed the technology to play it that way yet. So trying to pull yourself back and be well, what would it look like if it was that? And it's just really fun. So,
yeah. I love
that's 48 hours. You get an actual zine of the Darkest Tower.
Very cool. I'm super excited about that. Along with everything else. So people go check out that link. Like I said, it's right below all of us. It's also in the show notes. If you're watching this later, I want to encourage you guys to go back in those first 48 hours. They're incredibly important. Even if you can't support the game directly, if you can share it when it goes live, share it now. It's incredibly helpful to help other folks discover it. Also, remember, if you're a player, just tell your GM, hey, I need you to get this for us for our table. I can't afford it. You should get it.
Or you get all your players together and buy it as
get a copy, get a table copy. It's a great way to go. And if you can't support it in campaign, picking it up at your friendly local game store later is always a great way to pick up a copy of it. Also, any way that you can support small press or indie gamers, we always encourage here on stream. We've got a couple of great things coming up. We are going to be taking a week off next week as I travel to Seattle. So if you're a Seattle area native, want to meet up at Around the Table Game Pub up there while I'm in town, we will be making some announcements on social media for the days we'll be there. We prefer to play with people who are vaccinated, and masks will be required, but would love to see folks and hang out with you there if you are in the Seattle area. But this Friday, we've got Unhaunt Your House, which is a Together We Go game that uses the theorized mechanic popularized by Brenda Wood Bay. And then we also have an interview tomorrow for Unspoken Words, which is a game for people to play, for second or third generation immigrants to play with their parents or grandparents to help unpack the storied realities of their history coming to the U.S. and their homeland. I'm very excited to talk to the creators about that. I got a sample of the game in advance, but we're just doing a prestige class with them to talk about their development journey as well. And then we're going to be off. We're going to be off for the weekend and through next week. We'll be back after that with some great games in June. Can't wait to see folks. And until next time, we don't have a good way that we end these streams. We're all just going to wave at the camera until I take us off air. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Like,
Thank you all. Thanks for playing.